All right, welcome back. If the Supreme Court does overturn Roe v. Wade, states will decide their own abortion laws. That's where we're at tonight. But about half of the U.S. states are expected to ban them if it does go into effect. 22 states already have total or near bans on record. 13 of those states have what's called the trigger laws, and you've been hearing more about that over the last 12 hours. Laws that immediately go into place should Roe v. Wade be reversed. Well, of course, with an issue of this magnitude, this critical, impacting the health of so many people around the country, there is growing efforts to figure out how something so important escaped the halls of the highest court in the land. Our correspondent Tom Dempsey is live at the Supreme Court for us tonight, where there continue to be protesters this evening, sort of reacting, digesting the news to this draft, which, by the way, the Chief Justice authenticated today, said it is real, but it's not final. Tom, we know the Supreme Court's going to be investigating this, but talk about the process of that investigation. Who does it? How does it happen?
The Supreme Court marshal is going to be the one leading this investigation, and questioning is really going to be the early phase of this morning. We're talking about, these draft opinions. There's only a really select group of people who have access to these draft opinions, like the Alito draft. The Supreme Court justices have access to them, the clerks for those Supreme Court justices, and the secretaries to that team. They all have access to these draft opinions, and the questioning in the early part of this investigation is going to involve those people as the investigators try to get to the bottom of this, and also really the system that allows the people to have access to this. An expert we spoke to earlier today said that even that could be probed by investigators as they try to find out answers, again, as you said, how something like this could happen. And it's going to start with questioning of the people who have access to the draft opinions.
Well, and Tom, there's been some discussion today whether or not leaking this was criminal, and most people seem to agree that it wasn't, but it is highly unprecedented and highly alarming as well. But what happens in terms of finding that person, the punishment involved? What lay ahead for them?
Again, multiple experts we spoke to said those criminal charges highly unlikely, because that would require this draft document to be a classified document, which probably not a classified document in all this. So what sort of punishment are we looking at instead? Realistically, these experts said, if it's found out that this person worked, in an inner circle of a Supreme Court justice, they could be fired from that position and likely, really blacklisted from any jobs in the future. In the law community. And then Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri even brought up possibly disbarring that person if they have a law background and they're found to be, responsible for this leak.
Yeah, because big picture, it just chips away at the foundation of the court and the integrity and the legitimacy of what is happening inside our nation's highest court. Tom Dempsey outside the Supreme Court tonight. And thank you, Tom. You don't want to, as we focus on the leak, the leaker, what happened, the other thing is this draft is out there, and as you sort of file through it and the decision being made, if in fact in June it is what it appears to be, the ramifications of that in every single state, in everyone's lives, there is no more divisive issue, an important one than this. And so people, I think, are still trying to wrap their minds around what this means. No matter which side you fall on, this is major.
Yeah, and going back to the leaker, just because it's interesting to play whodunit. The book deal and TV commentator deal may not be far behind either. And we say that, but that's what happened with Anonymous, who was in the Trump White House, wrote the op-ed for the New York Times, wanted to stay anonymous, then came out with the next op-ed, then the book deal, then the CNN deal as well. Rory Little, former federal prosecutor, Supreme Court clerk. Rory, if rather than this being leaked, this decision had simply come out as it does on Mondays. Is it Mondays when the Supreme Court announces?
And they do different days depending on when it is.
Okay, so if sometime in June they had dropped this opinion and said, "Here you go, Roe's overturned," based on the oral arguments from late last year, would any court watcher have really been surprised?
I don't think this was really surprising, although the tone, the sort of strident, one-sided tone of that draft opinion is a bit surprising, and I don't think it's going to necessarily stick that way when we get to the final decision. These decisions aren't released until everybody's done, including dissenters and concurring opinions. There'll be some changes between now and when it's finally out.
Well, yeah, and this thing was originally written in February, so there's probably already been a lot of changes. You note how sort of strident in the tone the opinion was. Show earlier we talked about the Federalist Society and how 40 years of work has gone into this moment for Republicans who've started, recruiting conservative judges in law school, conservative kids, bringing them up, giving them clerkships, then trying to put them on various courts, and now all with the purpose of overturning Roe. When I read the opinion, it read to me almost as a first-year law student had been assigned write the Supreme Court overturn of Roe. It had none of the nuance or the elegance that you typically see in a Supreme Court opinion. And I'm wondering what you make of that versus, or combined with, that 5 justices had signed on to the draft. And in your experience at the court, what the chances of somebody actually dropping off?
Yeah, well, we don't know for sure whether 5 justices have signed on to this draft opinion. We do know, I think, that when they came out of the oral arguments and they went to conference and took a vote sort of around the table, there were at least 5 justices in favor of the result of overruling Roe. But it's not clear that they've all joined this opinion. And some of it has to do with, why did someone leak this? If it was a leak, it could have been an accident. It could have been a hack. It could have been an unintentional forgetting of the document.
Forgive me, but the Politico reporting said otherwise. It said that this was given to Politico by someone familiar with the court's workings.
Well, okay, we're gonna see where that comes out. It's not at all clear to me that this is going to fall on the hands of a law clerk or something like that. It could have been somebody who picked it up walking through the janitors who clean the offices in the middle of the night.
Well, I guess, Rory, to that, you wonder, are drafts of opinions this important just lying around the office for anyone to peruse through?
Well, the answer to that is actually yes. I mean, to the extent that I've been there, and I clerked for 5 different justices in different capacities. Yeah, you leave it out on your desk. I mean, you leave your office at midnight, you come back in at 6 a.m. The security around the court is huge, and the background of people that work there is well investigated. This is not precedented. This has not happened before. So we're going to learn a lot from this. We may never identify the leaker. The marshal's office is not an investigative agency generally. They could call in the FBI. There is a possibility of criminal law. It's not just got to be a classified document. There's a theory that says this is government property, that information that is confidential is government property, and the theft of government property can be a crime under federal law. So there's a lot of stuff still to happen in this. But the answer is yes. I mean, people up there trust each other. That's why this is so disturbing. It destroys the kind of institutional trust of that third branch of our government.
Rory, I'm being told we're out of time, but I just have one quick question. And the discussion that turned today to other major cases that could roll this forward. So civil rights, same-sex marriage. Should we be concerned at any of the things that have been put in place decades ago that may now be in question?
Well, you've got Second Amendment cases and you've got all sorts of cases. So, and it is all due to the 3 Trump justices. Just remember, if Merrick Garland had been confirmed, we wouldn't be in this position. So you can lay it all at the feet of that election in 2016.
Tim Alberta's great reporting said there were so many people who voted for President Trump, then candidate Trump, held their nose just because of this very issue of wanting to get conservatives on the court. Hey, Rory, it was great chatting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.